Hey, what's up everybody? This is Flashback Toys and Collectibles. In today's video, I'll be opening up a custom laser power He-Man. So this figure was custom made by a seller on eBay. And just to let you know, the packaging was not included. This is something I made up for display purposes. So let's go ahead and open this guy up. And we'll put his sword in his hand here. So from what I can tell with this figure, it looks like the seller 3D scanned an official laser power He-Man and then used these scans with a 3D resin printer to make a replica of laser power He-Man. I purchased this on eBay for right around $100. The figure did not come painted and it did not have any electronics. So I did add some electronics to make the laser power sword functional, and I also painted quite a few features on this figure as well. To turn on the laser power sword, there is a switch located at the bottom of the pack, and this feature is what really makes this figure stand out. So if you're a Masters of the Universe fan, and you grew up in the 80s here in the US like I did, there's a good chance you never heard of laser power He-Man, and that's because he was never released in the US. In 1987, the market for Masters of the Universe toys was fading fast, and the original toy line was coming to an end. But over in Europe, the market was still going strong, and in 1988, Laser Power He-Man was released, first in Italy, then in 1989, it was released in Spain. But the Spain version used the original He-Man head, while the Italy release version used what appeared to be a more Dolph Lundgren looking head from the He-Man movie. Now let's go ahead and take a closer look at this replica. A lot of the detail on this model looks great. The muscles look good on the legs, the stomach, the arms. The only place it's lacking a little bit is on the face. And I did have to do some touch-up work to it. I had to add some nostrils to it and carve out a little bit by the nose. Now with most of the body on this figure, it was printed in a flesh color, and that's the color you see on the legs, torso, and arms. And then the shorts and armor is printed with a blue, somewhat translucent resin. And the head was already printed with a flesh color resin, so it did match the body somewhat, but it was somewhat translucent, which made the face look weird. So that's why I decided to go ahead and paint the face. Then I painted the eyes, the hair, the silver on the armor, the belt, the boots, and the hands. And here's a couple of comparison pictures of before and after. This figure does have some limited articulation. There is a rubber band that connects the legs together, but originally it would have had a ball joint that made the legs move, so that's going to be a little bit different. The arms do move up and down, but they can pop off kind of easy. And the head does swivel as well. That is pretty tight. And it can also turn at the waist. Just look at the armor on the arm here. And this piece is glued on. And I did have to paint the silver on the armor right here. Let's take a look at a replica of the original card back for ages 5 and over. Super laser light action, laser power He-Man. Requires one AA battery, not included. At the top here we show a battle between laser power He-Man and laser light Skeletor. And it shows you can put one AA battery in his backpack, and then when you lift his arms, that activates the light. And how that worked is there was a mechanical device that was inside the body that activated the switch that was in the pack, which then turned the light on. But with this setup, I just have a switch that turns on that light. The armor is removable on this guy. Let's go ahead and take his sword out. And then we can undo his armor. pops out the bottom first and pivots out the top. So this armor goes together the same way the original armor would have. Hooks in the top first, and then snaps in the bottom. And then right here is where the battery cover would have came off, so you could put a AA battery inside. But this piece is sealed, so this pack is pretty much just hollow. So what I did at the bottom here is I cut a hole, then I put a battery pack inside here that has a on-off switch. Then I ran the wires out the side of it here, and then installed a LED at the end of the wires here that lights up the sword. So the quality of this figure is pretty decent, but I would not consider this to be toy quality. This is something you really want to have limited use with, or it might end up breaking. So the arms are removable like the original figure. But I wouldn't recommend taking these on and off excessively because they might break. There's a look at the hands. The belt, you can clearly see that M logo. There's a look at the boots. On his back right here is a hole that would have been present on the original laser power He-Man. And how this would have worked is some parts inside would have pushed a button out when you lifted the arm up. A button would push out right here, which then pushed a button inside the pack right here, which then turned on the laser power sword. So let's go ahead and put the armor back on, and this part right here lines up with the hole on his back. Then the chest piece goes in the top first, then pivots down and snaps at the bottom. And then the sword goes in his right hand. This figure does stand up fairly decent, but sometimes it does take a little work trying to find a good balancing point, especially with this backpack on the back of him. But as you can see, he stands up no problem. So here's a comparison with an oversized picture of the original laser power He-Man. And as you can see, the armor is a different shade of blue. It's more of a teal color on this guy. And on this one, it's kind of a purplish blue. And I could have painted his armor this color, but I decided to keep it this color because I like this color. And it's kind of translucent, which kind of matches the theme of the laser power sword. And also, by keeping it this color of blue, I don't have to worry about any paint wear because this is the color of the resin. The boots on this guy were originally the flesh color, the same as the legs, but I tried to paint these to match the shorts and armor with a metallic purplish blue color. And here's a comparison with a prototype showing the early stages of laser power He-Man in late 1987. You can see there are some similarities with the trunks and the boots, but the armor is quite a bit different on the chest, and the laser power sword is actually in the left hand instead of the right hand. The prototype also has some skin colored hands instead of the silver hands, and if you take a look at the way he's holding the sword, it looks like there's a peg that attaches to a hole in his hand. That's kind of weird. But as far as the chest armor goes, I think I actually prefer this armor over the final version. Here's a comparison with the original He-Man that was released in 1982. So with the 1988 laser power He-Man, they used all new tooling, meaning he had all new parts, new arms, new legs, new torso, and of course, a new head. Laser power He-Man was the last He-Man figure produced in the original Masters of the Universe toy line, and became kind of a crossover for the New Adventures of He-Man. So this is the first He-Man figure that was produced in the New Adventures of He-Man, and he has somewhat of a space theme. But as you can see here with this He-Man, he is way skinnier than what we're used to seeing with a He-Man character. Let's go and take this guy's helmet off. So these two He-Mans do have some similarities. They both have short hair and a space theme. But this guy's way cooler and way buffer. So when I purchased this guy, I also purchased a laser light Skeletor from the same seller on eBay. And that's this guy right here. And this guy turned out really cool. And I will be reviewing this guy in a separate video. For anyone out there that's not aware of how much the original Laser Power He-Man costs, you're looking at about $1,000 to get one that's complete and fully functional. That's too much money for me. So to find something like this that's a little bit lesser quality, but still functions and looks pretty good, I think it's well worth it for $100. Now there is some other sellers on eBay that make some custom figures, such as Barbarossa Customs. He does make a Laser Power He-Man that goes for around $374, and it's said to be pretty high quality from what I've read of the reviews. And maybe one day I will get one of his figures to review, but for now I'm happy with this figure. Okay, it's now time for me to go. If you like this video, if you could hit that like button and subscribe, and have yourself a great day, and I'll see you next time.